What's up? What's up? Welcome into the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. I'm Tommy Sladek. We have Samantha Croston, and we have SU's all-time leading scorer. It's Lawrence Poetry and Moten, and we have Rachel Culver on the producer mic. It's our June check-in for Cuse Men's Hoops. We have what's shaping up to be really this roster for heading into the fall and winter. We'll see exactly how it plays out, who the starting five is. We're going to debate that and ultimately just catch up with Poetry and hear his thoughts on everything. But first off, how have you been, man? It's good to have you back.
Oh, man, it's great to be back with two of my favorite people.
Aww.
I can say that.
Appreciate you.
I can honestly say that. And just happy to be a part of this again and looking forward to the up-and-coming season.
I'll try not to take that personally, but it's okay.
Rachel's
I
back
love
there,
you
too.
Rachel.
He was just
I
meeting
love
on the
you
desk.
too, Rachel.
He was meeting
I
on the
love you
desk.
too.
But yeah, Rachel's back there, and she, I'm sure, has some Spitfire takes she wants to let out. But before we even get into this lineup and really catch fans up as to what we're looking at for 2024, we've had some news outside of that we want to talk about with Poetry, and that is, for starters, just happening today, which is Tuesday we're recording this. Mike Hopkins,
Yes.
assistant coach at the Phoenix Suns. How you feeling about that?
I'm feeling real good about that. I'm happy for Mike, personally. Very good coach, good motivator. And I think this will be a better fit for him than he was in college, where he can actually be himself. When I say be himself, I mean as a head coach, it's a little bit more difficult. When you're assistant, you can, be more laid back and honestly put more passion into it. And he's that type of guy, very vocal, and I think he's going to do well in Phoenix. And with Mike Budenholzer, who's a great coach, I think that kind of worked out with the USA team. They were on the USA team together, when he was in San Antonio. So when Coach Boeheim went to the USA, he brought Mike with him. So it's all about who you know, guys.
It's all about who knows you.
There's
Plain
Sam's
and
quote of
simple.
the day. I was wondering
Yes.
when we would get it. What's the biggest difference in the coaching style in college and the pros from your experience, and maybe how they have to approach what they do?
Well, the approach in the pros is already expected for you to know the game ins and outs. In college, you still have a learning process and a learning curve where there's different things you have to learn. But on that next level, which is the highest level, there's no other level higher than that. You have to be ready, and you should already be ready.
And how about GMAC? Jerry McNamara heading to
Yes.
Albany, or
Yes.
not Albany, Siena, the Albany area.
Yes.
What was your reaction to that and the staff he's building out there with Ryan Blackwell and those guys?
Yeah, I got a chance to see GMAC over the summer at Coach Boeheim's Coaches for Cancer Foundation, and I congratulated him. I'm very happy for him. It was time, I think it'll be a good situation for him where he can do it his way, and he's bringing two guys who are former Syracuse guys who are very good coaches, and Blackwell and Arenze. So I liken him keeping it in the family. That truly makes me feel good. But those are two great coaches also. So I think he'll do well. And he brought the guy Carey. Is that his name?
Yeah, Peter Carey.
Carey from here, which was I think a good move for Peter.
I like that too.
which will help them. So good look.
You said that it was time. Like, how do you know when it's time,
Yeah, well, you're at a college or university for 20 some odd years, and I've heard he had other opportunities where he didn't want to take at the time, and Coach Boeheim being the head coach and who's somebody you looked up to for many years, and it was just time. I didn't think a lot of people thought he would get the head coaching job at Syracuse. But honestly, I wouldn't have thought that would have been fair to Adrian personally, because Adrian was here longer.
Yeah.
So it's a good move for GMAC. Like I say, I think it was time, and we'll see. But it's nothing but the sky's the limit now. You can only go up.
All right, so before we get to talking about our starting fives, let's go through the players that we all believe are going to be getting some minutes and contributing to this team next year. So starting with the incoming transfers, of course, Eddie Lampkin Jr., he's been the big talker, going to be a rising senior out of Colorado. He's that true five that Syracuse lacked last year, and there's going to be higher expectations for him to immediately make an impact. You also have Lucas Taylor. He's the newest guy out of Georgia State, guard. So he was at Wake Forest before that, so he has some ACC experience, was the leading scorer at Georgia State. We'll see how he fits into this team. You next have Jair Davis, who big-time scorer, more than 17 a game at Delaware. So really interested to see where he fits in, built like a pure three, according to Rachel's notes. And then you have Jaquan Carlos, true point guard out of Hofstra, very experienced veteran, and someone, I'll get to it, but someone that I believe is going to be playing a big role on this team. As for the incoming guys, you have the power forward, you have the big talker. He's the highest rated recruit since Carmelo Anthony, McDonald's All-American, Donnie Freeman. We'll see what this dude can do. I'm super impressed by him, and I'm really excited for Syracuse fans to see him in uniform. Then you have the New York guard. It's Elijah Moore, and people are talking really high about this guy. I think on his senior night, he scored like 60-something points. Very interested to see how he compares this summer, and depending on how that goes against his teammates, we'll find out where he is in the fall. Returning is Chris Bell and J.J. Starling, two starters at forward and guard. Then you have Naheem McLeod at center, Chance Westry, who we're excited to finally get to see after he was dealing with injuries, and Kyle Cuff Jr., who is going to be coming in. He was at Kansas, got his first year under his belt. We'll see if he rises up and gets some more minutes. So let's start with Freeman. Poetry as a DC guy, are you excited for what he's going to be able to do as a freshman?
Yes, I'm very excited about it. I've heard a lot of good things about Donnie. Great work ethic, triple threat player. 3, 4, 5. In this age you can play the 5. There's so many different ways you can do it, but he's a good player, and I hope he just comes here and does what he does best. Sometimes you can go to college and it's another step up the ladder, which I tell these younger kids is you just got to understand that everybody was an All-American at their high school or where they're from. So now it's time to take it another step up the ladder, and I think he will, because he'll have the opportunity. So I'm looking forward to it, and he's a DC guy. I'm a little biased. I love all my DMV guys, and it's good that Adrian Stan keeping it down there in that pasture also. We're always going to stay in the DMV area.
And as far as the incoming transfers, who on this list that we have here sticks out to you?
Well, as far as the transfers and who sticks out to me, it's no question. I'm going high on the bar. I need to see something from this Eddie Lampkin Jr. Plain and simple. I'm a hard critic. I got a chance to check you out in Colorado. You were sort of like a bruiser type guy, hype man. We need you to play inside out. I do not need you taking 3 or 4 threes a game. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm just keeping it real. We do not need you here to shoot 3-pointers.
Especially when I'm looking at this roster and seeing that there's a lot of guys on here that
who can shoot
very much enjoy and can shoot the 3-pointer and have proven they can shoot the 3-pointer. So let's get into it, because I think that's the biggest question right now this offseason. I've talked to some fans that they're very confident in who they believe is going to be their starting 5. Others are really up in the air and they're trying to see. I think no matter what, I see a deeper roster, and I see maybe 3 to 4 guys that are not in that starting 5 that I feel confident are going to have very productive minutes. So, Rach, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to hear your starting 5 and who you believe is going to be there game 1 for this Adrian Autry season 2.
You're going to make me start? You're going to make me rip off the Band-Aid?
Yes, unless you want me to go.
I would love for you to go. I feel like you should do it, and then I'll hop in right after you.
Okay, all right. So here's, I think Eddie Lampkin Jr. at center is the obvious pick. Bringing him in, I don't see anyone else that's really going to be competing for that role. I think Naheem McLeod, when healthy, is going to come in and kind of relieve him for some minutes. We'll see how he develops, but it's got to be Lampkin. He's the guy with the highest expectations because it's just something we lacked last year. The 4 is Donnie Freeman. I have him at power forward. I think there's a reason that Malik Brown transferred to Duke, and I think a part of that is that Donnie Freeman was going to be coming in and taking that 4 spot. Poetry has his hand on his face. I think I just reminded him of something that he forgot about for a few weeks, and that is Malik Brown not only transferring, but he's going to Duke.
Going to Duke.
And that hurts. I know that hurts you.
It hurts. It hurts. It doesn't hurt as much as if he would went to Georgetown.
That would sting worse.
But you know, it's some of these decisions these young kids are making. You know, I truly don't understand. You know, my reason for saying that is, you know, Malik, you were guaranteed a starting position next year here. You know, you had a great sophomore, junior season, whatever you want to call it, here in Syracuse. You were just starting to figure it out. Why go somewhere where they have all-star players coming, high school top-rated players that are coming to Duke, when the reality is you might not even start. You're going to play, but I don't think you're going to start when you knew you could start here. I'm
Do
the
you
same
think
way
that, though?
with
Like, you think it's
Quadir. I'm the
guaranteed?
same way with Quadir. Yeah, I mean, I don't think why leave somewhere where you're starting. You know, I just don't understand some of the reasoning with some of these kids. You know, I know it's all about the money. I understand that issue, but I was always taught all money ain't good money.
This is speculation, but do you think that there was a world in which he was going to be fighting for Freeman for that spot, or do you think that they would have tried to warped something where it's Brown, Freeman, and Lampkin all on the floor at the same time? Because I think that's the narrative people were trying to tell themselves as to why.
Right. And that's the part I'm saying that really upsets me too. We're trying to please these kids too much. Earn your position. If you really think you're good enough, stay here and go at it with Donnie and earn your position. These kids now, if they're not getting their way or they see another star player, oh, it's not going to work, I'm out of here.
They're gone.
They're gone. I call that leaving the cowardly way instead of really sticking it out and trying to fight for your position. And those days are over. If they don't get their way, they're leaving. So I don't like the move. I don't like the Quadir move. I thought that was, I mean, what school is he going to?
He's going to, is it McNeese State?
McNeese.
I knew
Yeah.
where it was, but it's like Syracuse,
Yeah.
McNeese State. What are we talking about?
That was
If-
a head scratcher. I'm gonna
If
be
you
honest.
if you want advertisement, if you're looking for, you know, media and all of that, I mean, it's like you're going backwards.
It's such a different, like we're truly experiencing something for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And I think if the three of us are sitting here or having a phone, having a beer, whatever, in 5 years, I do think college basketball is going to have more of a, I don't want to say formula, but I think there's some things start to make sense because we see a pattern of repetition and we get more answers for that. But right now there's answers there's questions that we don't have answers to with some things. And it's weird. It's a weird spot to be in because there's head scratching things that you're saying there has to be something more here, but on the surface I don't get it.
Yeah, and not only that, you know, a lot of I sit around sometime and I just listen to some of the sports media people and hear people in general talk, you know, about the NIL and, you know, these guys transferring and everything, and that's all fine and dandy. But to this day, I still haven't heard anybody talk about what about the kids that enter the transfer portal and don't get nowhere.
Right.
They don't bring that up.
And it
You know,
happens.
we should talk about that
Plenty
lot
of times.
more than they talk about the guys getting transferred and going to a school. There's a lot of kids that get, I call it, stuck in the portal world, where
They're in orbit.
where you just floating.
In
Yeah.
the portal world. I mean, listen, I will say this. I think to Moten's point, as Tommy said, I think there's always more that you're not seeing or other things that are pulling people in various directions. And even when they do decide to transfer, I don't know that it's always about the money. To your point, I think maybe they think there's a better chance for me to play here, or they're nervous about the person below them coming in. But the grass is always greener, right? Like
Yeah.
you think that the next place that you're going is going to be better, but there's really no guarantee of that. And coaches can say a lot of things to convince you,
Yeah.
but none of that's written on paper, right? Like you don't know until you get there what your role is going to be.
AKA Jesse Edwards, AKA Quincy Guerrier. Guys that transfer and had great years here and end up going somewhere else, and it's like, where are they? So it's not always green on the
Not
other
always
side.
greener.
So, like I said, it is what it is. They definitely need to come up with some type of a rule or law on changing some of these things, because some of the stories I hear about this portal and guys transferring and then get the money and decide to enter the portal again so they get to keep the money. It's like it's a lot of trickery going on in the world of sports. But like I said, there's no more loyalty. You just have to roll with it, and it is what it is.
I think the one solution is I think we see some sort of contracts coming into play, right? Where these NIL deals or just straight up the deals with the schools that we're eventually going to see end up being 2-year deals, 2-year obligations, maybe 3.
You
We'll
think?
see. Yeah. I mean, because
What about 1-year deal?
well that
sounds
doesn't help the situation, which is players bouncing after one. So I think there's just 2-year type of contracts being signed. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I hear you, but I like what Sam's saying, the 1 year, because the reality is a lot of these kids are not worth it. That's another thing we need to do. A lot of these guys are not worth the bread that they're asking for. Like, come on. You're asking for 6 figures, and you're really not worth it. Now, some guys are. Don't get me twisted. There are some guys who are worth it, but everybody's not worth it, and everybody thinks that they are, and they're not.
That's why I was saying I like the idea of the 1-year deal, because then even from the coach's standpoint, it's like if you want more money, earn it in the second year. Let's reevaluate
makes
after the
sense.
first
So
year
it's a
and see
2-year
how.
deal.
Huh?
So it's a 2-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal with the opportunity, with an asterisk, to make it a 2-year deal if things go well.
Okay.
So you still have that tryout feeling. You still need to perform if you want more pay.
We'll find out. We'll find out what this world's going to bring us here in college. So to finish my 5, I'm going Lampkin, Freeman, and I'm sticking with some loyalty of last year. I think these two carry over. I think Bell probably stays starting at the 3, JJ 2, and I think it's going to be Jaquan Carlos, the true point guard, experience that's going to be leading the offense at the point. But again, it's hard because you look on paper and you see Westry on there, you see Davis from Delaware, and I'm like, geez, like, to not have these guys starting, it's like you want more minutes with them. So we'll see, but that's my guess for right now, and that's what we're doing. We're speculating, we're having fun. So Rachel, you're up. Hit me with your 5.
Okay, so my 5 is actually the same exact as your 5. That's exactly what I worked.
See, I knew you should have went
myself.
first.
I know I should have, but the one thing I just go back and forth about is that one spot. Yes, it's enticing to see true point guard next to Carlos's name there, but I also think there's opportunity and there's room for one of these other guards that we've seen already last year to kind of step up and maybe not to necessarily take a true point guard, but facilitate offense in a non-traditional way.
So JJ maybe?
I don't know. I
don't
like
see how JJ's not going to be starting. He better start.
JJ's definitely starting,
Yeah.
but like I don't know if I see him at the 1. Like I want to see him just work off ball.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want him to necessarily have to worry about that. So I want to keep JJ as pure of a 2 as you can, but it's hard. I don't know, because I could also see someone like Chance Westry maybe picking up some of that slack at the 2 if it needed to be JJ with more on ball opportunity.
Chance is the big mystery, right?
He really
my
is the
sleeper.
question mark.
Because I think there's a ton of promise to him, and everything you hear, right, is I mean, you've seen
Yeah,
practices.
yes,
He's
yes.
impressive.
He's very
but
impressive.
Auburn only got a few games in before he got injured, got hurt before last year, and I feel bad for the kid, and I'm happy to see that he's like sticking with it and grinding
Yep.
it out. And so that's the interesting part. So Poetry, you have your 5 right now?
Yeah, okay. Well, what I'm looking at, definitely Lampkin at the center. Lampkin, no three. You can take 2 threes, Lampkin. 2 threes. Is good. Anything over that, we got a problem.
You gotta really
Donnie Freeman, definitely at the 4. And I'm going Bell, JJ, and Westry, my guards. I like the sleeper, and I'm going to tell you about Chance. Chance has something that Bell doesn't have and JJ doesn't have, and that's moxie. See, you can't teach that. That flair. When he scores a bucket, he's talking trash, like giving you a little dance or whatever. We need that. We need that excitement. And he's the guy I feel that's going to give it to us. Now, what we do have all together, which I like, it does seem like a deeper team. It does seem like a deeper team, a more fast-paced team. And at the end of the day, no matter what we say, Adrian can say he did it his way.
That depth doesn't necessarily align with teams of past,
and that's
too.
the big thing. Exactly.
And that's kind of cool to see, to kind of have that opportunity to be like, oh, are we going to use a bench this year?
Absolutely,
Like, whoa.
Rachel, absolutely.
So do you think it's maybe a mix of Westry and Starling? Like, each of them bring the ball up? Because I've seen teams do that where it's not that true
combo.
one.
Yeah.
Do
Absolutely.
you think one would be a majority?
Absolutely. I mean, me personally, I would rather have 2 guys that can handle more than 1 point guard on the court at the same time.
Right.
That's just me, But yeah, I like it, and it's hard because I really don't know these other guys, Juan Carlos and the Lucas Taylor guy. I really don't know too much about them, and I hope they do well. But coming from Georgia State and now coming to the ACC,
Different beast.
and coming from Hofstra and coming to the ACC, that's a different beast. So, we'll see. We'll see. And am I a little ahead of the game or I'm behind? It was another guy that everybody's keep talking about named Chopper, Elijah Moore. Is he?
That's who I was like, wait a minute, we're
Chopper.
missing someone on this list.
Now this guy right here, they call him Chopper.
I like that
I
a lot.
love that.
Yeah,
I
look,
like
now
that
let me
nickname
tell
a
you, they
lot.
say he's a sniper.
Yeah.
I've seen video. Of course, some of his game. Matter of fact, I watched that game when I think he scored like 60.
Yeah, he's coming in with Donnie.
Yeah. Chopper. Don't sleep on Chopper.
I like that a lot.
You love that.
Well, that's
nickname.
I was gonna say. I'm like, there's something missing here,
Elijah Moore.
but maybe it's him coming in. That's why it's our way too early pick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm just because since I already heard everyone else's, I sort of just want to shake it up just a touch, just in case I'm right. I feel like it would be fun to look back. I am going to go with a little bit of a smaller lineup as the starters, but I absolutely believe in the possibility that other people will be filtering through. I'm going to go Lampkin, Carlos, Freeman, Westry, and Starling. And then I think that you're seeing Chris Bell
Bell's coming off.
filter through, but he's coming off. I appreciate the fact that they have depth. I love the fact that they have a pure 5, which I think is going to shake things up. And I think because of that, I mean, even last year, this was a team that was a guard-heavy team. If we do have a lot of great shooters and people like Chapa and other people.
When he hits the 3, he does the bullseye. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know. I think that having Eddie Lampkin Jr. in there makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with, the idea of a fast-paced team with a lot of movement and a lot of guys out there who are really agile. So that's what I'm going to go with for my way too early prediction.
Okay, and that's why it's way too early. There's a lot that can happen, but Elijah Moore's an interesting piece, right? It's one of those where we're gonna have to find out how he matches up in the summer, and I'm sure the coaches are saying that too. It's like, could he end up being the missing piece? Maybe
they're trying to say he's the best shooter on the team.
Really?
He's a sniper like that.
He dropped, I think, 65 on his senior night?
Yeah.
Something
could.
filthy down in
He
the
could be.
LSC area.
I will say, I think that my sleeper, like my big question mark, is Carlos. I know he's coming from Hofstra, and there is definitely a big jump in play from Hofstra to Syracuse. But I really like what I've seen from this guy, and I like the things that they talk about when they say, obviously he's someone who can initiate offense, but I feel like, isn't he the guy who we were talking about where we were like, this is kind of a glue guy, this is a good chemistry guy.
That's how he was explained.
That's how he was kind of introduced, is like he's that chemistry guy who can really help the team out, perhaps sort of like a Quadir Copeland kind of player. And I feel like when you have a guy like that, especially when chemistry was something that it was a little up
Lacking.
and down
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
You kind of want a guy like that on the court for more reasons than one.
Absolutely, Sam. And another thing I'm looking at with a lot of these guys too, they have that New York pedigree. So they're New York guys. New York guys are different. We all know that.
Yeah.
So he has
New York,
he has a lot
Mid-Atlantic.
of moxie with him also, from what I mean.
New
I like
York.
the moxie.
Yeah.
I like the moxie
I
a lot.
want like a dictionary definition of moxie, and I want your face next to it.
Thanks, Rach.
I love it. All right, that's our show, and we'll be getting back into some hoops. I think later this summer, and really when we start to get a better feel for things closer to the fall. But we have poetry. He'll be around.
Chopper.
He's excited for Chopper. Sam's excited. Rachel's excited. I'm excited. Drop your starting five. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, but drop your starting five and let's find out. And again, no wrong answers. We're all having fun here. Let's find out who the top five are going to be. Starting five are going to be. All right, that's our show. Peace.